It's the MLB postseason, and we're bringing the heat tonight. Who's stepping up to the plate, and who's winning it all? Meanwhile, the rankings have shaken up in the world of college football, and the New York Liberty are 2 games up on the Aces. Stay tuned because we're talking all this tonight on College Crossfire.
Nice intro. Oh, wait, that's a video.
Good evening to all our viewers tonight. I'm your host, Robert Gonsolin, and we have a great show in store for you. Before meeting our contestants, I want to share that today's show is brought to you by Cap Metro, Austin's transit system. We connect you to work, school, play, and everywhere in between, so plan your ride to this weekend's game at capmetro.org. All right, it's time to get into it now. Already jumping into our week 3 and 4, we're ready to introduce tonight's contestants. So, without further ado, let's get things started. All right, on first base, we have someone who's just super happy the Astros lost today. It's our executive producer of College Press Box, Mr. Joseph Duffey. Joe, how's it going?
Robert, glad to be back. Hopefully, looking for another win, but it was a pleasant day of hate watching. Number one, the Houston Astros are gone from my television screen, but the Baltimore Orioles also lost. It's a great day.
Hating from outside of the club, with the club being the playoffs. Moving on now, it's our man who is riding high on the Jaden Daniels hype train and is in paradise as a Washington, D.C. fan right now. He's making his season debut on Crossfire tonight. It's fellow former KXA and sports intern, Ryan Hopper. Ryan, how's it going?
It is great to be here, Robbie. Yes, I am riding high. You know, the Nats may not be in the playoffs, but Jaden's the truth, and I'm just happy to be back here defending my Tournament of Champions title. So, yeah.
You heard it there first. You know, as a Houston fan, and when times are low, but then that first glimpse of hope that you see when all your teams are really bad, it feels good. It feels good for the future.
Absolutely.
All right. And now rounding it out on third base, it's someone who represents the state of Texas in all of its sports glory. It's Cowboys, Astros, and Spurs fan, Grabiel Silva. Grabiel, how's it going today?
The day could have been better if the Astros weren't eliminated. I'm hanging on by a thread. I seriously considered not even showing up today because I knew it was going to be pretty bad, but I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to compete.
I feel the pain of you as well. Too bad for the Stros, but you know what? We had our run. Let's review the game's rules in case you've never tuned in before. There will be 3 rounds with each one containing 3 questions. Points will be given to who I believe has the best answer in order of 3, 2, and 1 point. Whoever has the most points at the end of the 3rd round wins and gets to come back for next week's show. But we can't forget about the 3rd and final round, better known as the rapid fire round. It's worth double the points, meaning the best answer will receive 6 points, and so on and so forth. In the event that there is a tie by the end of the 3rd round, there will be a bonus question to see who is crowned champion. Also in this rapid fire round, the contestants have not been able to see or prepare for these questions whatsoever, so they're going to have to think on their feet and come up with what they think is the best possible answer. Now that we've reviewed our rules of the game, y'all have all been on here before. We're comfortable with getting started on our first block. Let's get right into it. So, October is officially here, and the MLB playoffs have officially begun. As we continue to navigate through the wild card round right now, some teams have advanced while others are finishing up their second game right now and looking to advance tonight after game 2. So far, which player has been the sole MVP of this round, and why? Joe, start us off.
It's hard to say a sole person for this team because they all just played magnificently with the payroll they had. But Tarek Skubal of the Detroit Tigers, who defeated the Houston Astros, dominated. How many times do you see a Triple Crown winner in each league in the same season? There's a reason why he won the Triple Crown. He was just dominant all year long. You could hardly score a run at him, especially when he has a runner in scoring position. He was dominant once again. 6 innings pitched of 1-run ball. The Astros had no answer for him. It's hard to say like who would be the MVP for that team, but if there was one, I think it had to be him because he was just amazing. On the road, mind you, a team that hadn't won a playoff series since 2013, and that was against the Yankees back in Detroit. So big-time division series win heading to the divisional series for the Tigers.
Yeah, watching that game intently, I mean, it wasn't fun for me, but I can't deny how talented he was and what the stakes were for the Tigers. Definitely a great performance overall. Ryan, what do you think?
I would say that Scooble was magnificent yesterday, but given that we're talking about an MVP of the round, I took this to mean, position players because they're playing every day. And in a 2-game sample, a starting pitcher is going to have a bigger impact. But for position players, I'm going to a guy who slept on a little bit. How about Kyle Higashioka? I apologize to Higashioka family if I butchered that pronunciation. But look, this guy is the 8th or 9th hitter in the Padres rotation. He only hit 15 dingers all season, which is still pretty good for a catcher. But what did he do as a catcher in 2 games? And I believe they're still up and they're about to eliminate the Braves tonight. He hit a dinger in the first game, solo shot to get their offense going, and a sac fly, and he hit a dinger tonight. He got them going. He has a third of their runs batted in across 2 games. That is unexpected power. Usually don't get from a catcher, even in the regular season, much less the playoffs. That's a guy stepping up to make big plays in October.
Talk about staying quiet during the regular season, but clutch players make big plays in clutch moments. Grabiel?
Well, like they said, it's really hard to try and focus on one player. Being the MVP, there's only been 6 games played and 2 others going on right now. But the one player I'm going to talk about is going to be Bobby Witt Jr. Bobby Witt, he drove in both of the game-winning runs for the Kansas City Royals in their wild card sweep over the Baltimore Orioles. He's been a cornerstone for the Royals all season long. Other than Aaron Judge having another historical year, he could have been in the MVP race with what he's done with that Royals team, bringing them back from 100 losses a season ago to now onto the ALDS, and now they're going to face against the Yankees. But Bobby Witt, he proved it again that he belongs in the moment. He's drove in those 2 winning runs in the series, and then he showed off some good defense, and that's why I'm going to go with Bobby Witt, other than Tarek Skubal.
I think that when you're talking about great players in the MLB playoffs, you talk about who helped us get the lead at the right moment, and I think Bobby Witt was a great answer. With that being said, you'll get the 3. I like what you said about how pronounces Higashioka with scoring a third of the runs that they've scored so far in the first round, not being a great player in the regular season, but stepping up to the plate now. I like that too. I think that Bobby Witt's got the more clutch runs. You'll get the 2, Ryan, and Joe Skubal with a great performance will get the 1. Moving on, but staying in baseball, based on what we've seen through 2 days of the playoffs now, which wild card round team, it could be the wild card team or the team playing the wild card team, do you have advancing past all 3 rounds and making it to the World Series? In other words, who is your dark horse team as the playoffs stand right now? Ryan?
Well, I considered the Astros, but they're out. I considered, unfortunately, the Birds. The Birds had their wings clipped. The Orioles are out. So I am going to have to go with the Grimace-led New York Mets. Everybody, look, I get it. It's the Mets. It's like the Jets. You're initially skeptical. Look, Vientos has been great since Grimace threw that first pitch. Francisco Lindor might be the MVP of the entire league since Grimace threw that first pitch. They have won 63% of their games since Grimace threw that first pitch. They're the hottest team in baseball since then. Don't ask me why a purple blob from McDonald's got them going. I don't know. But baseball is a funny game sometimes, Rob. It really is. If you extrapolated that 63% win percentage over an entire season, the frickin' New York Mets would have won 102 games, and they would be 15 games clear of any of these teams in the wild card. They are hot at the right time. I believe, similar to my 2019 Nationals, they are a team of destiny, a wild card team that got hot at the right time. The Nats started 18 games below 500. I think the Mets are a team of destiny this year.
There's no denying whatsoever that the Mets have had a crazy run since June and since Grimace threw that first pitch. I actually bring up that run in my next question, but no denying whatsoever. They've been playing great. Grabiel?
Well, he did talk about one of the hotter teams in baseball right now, which is the Mets, but there's one team that's just even more on fire than they are right now, and that's the San Diego Padres. The Padres, they have Manny Machado, Jurickson Profar, Fernando Tatis, Jake Cronenworth, and Jackson Merrill, who could be the Rookie of the Year, but, Paul Skeens does have the better argument. But the Padres, they have been the hottest team in baseball for a while now. They, rode that hot streak into the postseason, and right now they're, bashing the ball all over the ballpark against the Atlanta Braves. and it looks like they're going to run away with that series. I don't know what the score is right now. But it looks like they're going to sweep that series as well. I do have them beating the Los Angeles Dodgers. I do not believe in the Dodgers at all. They do have the offense, but last year Betts went cold. Freeman rolled his ankle a little while ago, and we don't know how Ohtani's going to do. So I'm excited to see how the Padres are going to run through the NL, because I believe that they can, and I believe they'll be the ones hoisting up the trophy at the end of October.
You know, when you list all rosters across each other and can kind of compare, the Padres, they've got some crazy names on that team. It'll be interesting to see how far they go. And is Yu Darvish, he's still there.
Yes.
He made the roster for the playoffs. They have him too. But Joe, finish it off.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the Padres here. I would say the Tigers, but I don't know, man. They're a little iffy there. The pitching staff is good, but I don't think they have a good offense. I think you have to factor the home field advantage for the Padres. I think besides the Phillies, that they have the best home field advantage there. And I've been trusting Mike Schilt, for a while since he was the Cardinals manager. And I feel like he got a little bit, shafted maybe the way out right there for Oli Marmol. I think they did him a little bit dirty. He's a great manager. He has the unique perspective of being a manager that never actually made it to the show. So that's a little bit different there. And the fact that he can take this team to the playoffs. Fernando Tatis, his first playoff game last night, had a great home run. He's probably dominating right now. I haven't seen his stats tonight. But I really like this team because of the home field advantage. They're really hungry here, and I like to see a team that hasn't won its World Series take it home this year. I think they're really good this year. And the pitching staff is amazing.
Padres, great answer all around. I will say, I do think as more of a dark horse team, both very talented. There's no denying what the Grimace Mets have been doing. I have to give this one a 3. They're just so dominant lately in the rest of their season. But the Padres also a great answer, and I think that they can beat the Dodgers. That's why I do think you're going to get the 2, Joe. Ryan, you get the 3. The Mets, Grabiel, I think they're going to beat the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers are going to beat them. Excuse me. That's why you get the 1 on that one. But great answers all around. Both very talented teams. They both have a chance. Taking a step back from the playoff bracket, baseball is all about trends in the regular season. For instance, we saw the Grimace Mets, as we just talked about, make a run in June, and the Mariners lead the AL West for a large portion of the first half of the season and still not make it. So which team that didn't make the playoffs surprised you the most?
I mean, I'm going to have to go with the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks had about a 90% chance to make the playoffs just a couple of weeks ago, maybe even like a few months ago. They seemingly looked like a lock to make it into the postseason. They were the highest scoring team in Major League Baseball this year with 886 runs, and they're not in the postseason. Like, it just, at the end of the year, it took an awful collapse. They lost a lot of their games at the home stretch, and, at the end, they kind of got in, like, the worst end of the situation with the Mets and the Braves in a doubleheader, to where one win from each would get them in, and the Diamondbacks couldn't do anything about it. It's an unfortunate situation. The Diamondbacks could have been one of those dark horse teams that we mentioned earlier, but they're right now one of the disappointments, in my opinion, that did not make it into the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, making it all the way to the World Series, you think you'd bring back more firepower instead of actually, like, the Rangers, they won the World Series, but they kind of relaxed and they didn't make it. The Diamondbacks, they'd be, like, hungry, and they didn't even make the playoffs. It'd be pretty frustrating from a fan base perspective. Joe?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Seattle Mariners here, mainly because they led by 10 games, I believe, in the month of June. I mean, there was a time that Mariners fans were celebrating, trying to, showboat on the way into what could have been a cruise into the AL West title, but they just didn't hold on. And guess what? They let up the least amount of runs in the MLB and missed the playoffs. And also the team that scored the most runs, I believe, the D-backs, also missed the playoffs. So you need a little bit of that balance there. And when you have a guy like Logan Gilbert and then George also, who's also a great starting pitcher for them, they have a great pitching staff, but the offense just was not there. And they signed a guy in Mitch Garver, who I guess they thought was going to be a game changer for this offense. Didn't end up really doing much. Julio Rodriguez, I'm still waiting for him to take that next step. Very disappointing year this year, in my perspective, from him. But I really think that, Scott Service, he did a decent job those past few years just leading them to the playoffs. They need another manager to replace the interim right now who could possibly take them to the next step. I was very disappointed in the Mariners this year.
And I don't mean to say this ironically as an Astros fan, but to your point, they just couldn't hang on. They were in the standings for their division along with the Rangers and the Astros. They were up there for a long time. They just couldn't hang on. Any other team, it would be hard to watch the Mariners kind of just fall back like that. Ryan, finish it off.
Well, so I will say that was both my answer and my backup answer. So on the fly, I'm going to have to go with a model organization of the past decade missing the playoffs. The Tampa Bay Rays missed the playoffs. And when's the last time that's happened? 8, 9 years? Granted, I get it. Small market, no one shows up to the games, shoestring budget. But that hasn't proven to be an obstacle for the Rays over the past decades. The shrewd signings they've made. It really, they just started off slow. I get it. McClanahan got hurt, but you still had a good staff. You still had guys like Elfin on that staff. A very good staff from the previous year that has carried them to 5 or 6 straight playoff appearances. Then they feel like because of the slow start, they have to trade away Paredes. They have to trade away a Rosarena to the Mariners. And I think that's what stunted them. But being the good organization they are, they thought of the future, and they didn't futilely chase the playoffs. So they accepted the L. But it's still a disappointment they didn't make it.
It's like whenever you see the LA Dodgers not in the playoffs, it's just so surprising. Great answers all around. I will say, I think the Diamondbacks coming to that final series between the Mets and the Braves, and whatever outcome it was for the series, depended on the Diamondbacks making the playoffs or not. That was very surprising to me. And the Mariners, great answer, but you can kind of tell during the last 15 games or so they weren't going to get there. But you'll get the 2 on that one, Joe. You'll get the 3 if that wasn't implied, and then Ryan will get the 1 on that one. Great answers all around from our contestants, though. Still a very close game as that marks the end of our first round. But we've got plenty more as we'll shift gears towards football, so don't go anywhere because College Crossfire returns in just a sec. Welcome back into College Crossfire. Great stuff all around as we shift away from our MLB topics and into football. Just to recap the scores right now, Joe Duffey, you have 5, Ryan Hopper with 6, and Grabiel Silva with 7. So it's still anyone's game. So with that being said, let's shift gears into a new sport. On Saturday, the college football world gifted us with another instant classic, probably the best one of the season so far. After number 4, Alabama went up 30-7 on number 1 Georgia at home, the Bulldogs regained the lead late in the game, but the Crimson Tide responded to that with an electric 75-yard touchdown play. This game shook up the AP top 5, moving Georgia down to 5, Bama to 1, and Texas back to 2. Give me your current college football top 5 from your own opinion, and tell me why.
Okay, I'm going to start off by saying what a game that was on Saturday. All right, that was one of the best games I've ever seen. Me personally, I don't think that the top 5 has really any issues with it right now. I think Bama proved that they could be the number 1 team in the nation right now. They have the best win against the number 2 team, the previously number 2 team. Texas, they started off slow against Mississippi State. That's probably why they slipped back into that number 2 spot. 3 is Ohio State. They haven't faced anybody yet, but they're going to play Oregon next week. That's going to be a big game. 4, Tennessee, they are one of the better undefeated teams compared to an Oregon, a Penn State, and a Miami. So put Tennessee there at the 4, and then I do see Georgia there at the 5. I really don't have a problem with the current top 5, but I will say that, Alabama did look a little suspect by blowing that lead, but I will say that these rankings don't matter as much because of the expanded playoffs.
Great point at the end right there. These rankings don't matter, but it's more for the fun of bragging rights right now.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and put Oregon out of here. I've never really been fond of what they're doing this year. I'm just going to put Ohio State there just for the sake of, they've been there before, and they have a coach who's won before.
Ohio State.
I'll put number 5, yeah. And then I'll put Tennessee there because they look really well-rounded, look balanced. I like what I'm seeing from Nico Iamaleava. I think I said that right. I hope I did. Josh Heupel is doing a great job. Just had a big game win against OU on the road, who was trying to win their first SEC game there. And then I'm going to go to, let me see. Should I go there? Should I do it?
Get spicy.
Should I? Do I have one? What should I do? Who could be my number? Who's number 3? What's a good one right there?
Sports director Joseph Duffey, everybody.
I'm forgetting a number 3 that I'm like, that's clear right there.
Who
else is there right now?
Missing 3 major teams in no particular order.
I got 2, but who's the other?
The Bulldogs, the Tide, and the Longhorns.
Yeah, I'll put Georgia 3. I'll put Georgia there. There. I still think they're a great team, though. But Bama, number 2. I'm sorry. There is no reason that a team that had a backup quarterback should drop in the rankings just because they had a game of the year the previous week. I understand. It was a great game, but come on. Arch Manning was playing there. That was not the best ball for Texas. I think they should still be the number 1 team in the country, and then number 2 should be Bama.
All right. So with my top 5, I mostly agree with Grabiel. I think the AP, for once, largely has it right in that it ultimately doesn't matter right now. Number 1, though, has to be Alabama because they have the best win in the country. They beat Georgia at home. Texas became number 1 because at the time Texas had the best win in the country at Michigan. And, yes, that win's been made better by Michigan's victory over USC. But Alabama is the best win in the country. Kalen DeBoer has replaced the man, and he's done it very well. Number 2, Texas. They started off slow, but they are on their backup quarterback. They still took care of business by 20 points. 3rd, Ohio State. I get it. They've played East Middle of Nowhere State and FCS Northeast. However, they're one of the most talented rosters in the country. Caleb Downs, all the $20 million transfer NIL budget to add on to an already good recruited roster. But number 4, I'm going to have to go with Georgia over Tennessee because Georgia, while they got down 28 points, they showed incredible resolve to come back. They can play. If Carson Beck is slinging it, they can play with anybody. And I think they showed that in Tuscaloosa. They gave them a real scare in one of the toughest environments in college football. And 5th, I would have to say Tennessee over teams like Oregon and Penn State. Nico, I'm not going to butcher his last name, has been balling out. They beat a decent NC State team at a neutral site by 41 points, and they went into Norman, and they won by 10. That was not a 10-point game. They were up by 20 points. They dominated Oklahoma in Norman.
Most undoubtedly, Tennessee is a great team this year. I'm going to lay some key points down right here of what some key takeaways and from what I believe to be true. I believe that Texas with the backup quarterback, Arch Manning was playing. Quinn will be back. I think Texas is still the number 1 team in the nation. No bias. I think they're still the number 1 team in the nation. I will say, with Georgia going down early, it is hard for me to put them at 2. But the fact that they came back shows a lot. They're going to be my 3, and Bama's going to be my 2. With that being said, Joseph Duffey, you're going to get the 3. Hopper, you will get the 2 because I like where you put Georgia up a little bit higher than Grabiel did, and I like where you have Tennessee and Ohio State. And Grabiel, you'll get the 1. But great answers all around. You can interpret the rankings any way you want. We have the 12-team playoff. But with that being said, the NFL is just now rounding out the first quarter of their regular season, and we're already starting to see MVP candidates rise, many of them being unexpected names. Based on what we've seen from the league so far, give me your pick for the NFL MVP and tell me why.
It's me.
It is you.
All right, my pick, this will surprise nobody, is my savior, Jaden Daniels. If you were to end the season today, Jaden Daniels is your MVP. He is the number 1 rated fantasy quarterback for a reason. He can throw it. He can run it. He has poise in the pocket. He's not just a runner. This is a crazy stat. The Commanders, a much maligned 4-win team last year, has been completely changed by this man and new ownership and new coaching. We already have 3 wins. We only won 4 games last year. And in the last 2 weeks, 14 scoring drives, You know how many incomplete passes Jaden has had? Just 6 in 2 weeks. 14 scoring drives, 6 incomplete passes. He is scary accurate. He is completing well over 80% of his passes. That would break an NFL record, much less a rookie record. He's not just going to win Rookie of the Year. If he keeps playing in this way and the other MVP candidates don't step up, Jaden Daniels could win MVP. And if the season ended today, he should win MVP. The Commanders have wildly overperformed so far.
It'll be interesting to how far he can take them the rest of the regular season in the tough division.
Okay, so unfortunately for Jaden Daniels, the season does not end today. So I'm gonna go with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, he started off kind of rocky. They could have won. They were a toe away from beating the Chiefs. They blew that game against the Raiders, obviously, but they blew out the Cowboys. They took care of the Bills. Lamar Jackson, he started to perform. He performed in all those games. He got unlucky in the first couple. They started winning games. If he keeps up this trajectory and they start winning more games, they could win the AFC North. I mean, it looked like they weren't, and now they're on a projection to beat them over the Steelers. I mean, come on, the Steelers, let's be real. All right, so the Ravens, if Lamar, puts the team on his back, he has help with Derrick Henry. He has receivers. He's going to be able to shoulder the workload, and he's going to be able to, work his way towards another MVP award.
Did you see how dominant they were on Sunday night? That was crazy. That was crazy. I think they were standing on business when they lost the Chiefs after the game. They were like, if that's the best they've got all season, then they better be ready because that was the worst we're probably going to play. That was crazy. Joe?
Folks, it's time to get spicy. Fight on. Sam Darnold is my MVP. He has looked incredible. What if I told you a beat writer for the Niners who has worked there for 30-plus years says that this man threw the best ball that he's seen from any Niners QB in his tenure? Better than Joe Montana, better than Steve Young, better than even Colin Kaepernick himself.
They're undefeated right now, too.
Sam Darnold throws a great ball. He's balling right now. They're undefeated. He leads the NFL in 11 passing touchdowns. This Vikings team looks really well-rounded and balanced, of course, with Brian Flores coordinating this defensive effort as well. But J.J. McCarthy, we thought was going to come in, and he just got hurt, and Sam Darnold inserted himself right in there, and they have just looked amazing so far. So Sam Darnold, I have him as my MVP. He's been dominating. I got him as my MVP.
Lucky for you, that was the answer I was looking for. Sam Darnold, they're undefeated right now, and he's just playing great. It's like a Gardner Minshew sort of situation. Remember when he was the leading candidate just a couple years back?
Was it?
I think so. Like 6 or 7 years back. Okay. Not that much, but lots of giggles over here tonight. Lamar Jackson, I'll be the 2, and then Jaden Daniels, MVP in his first year. He's playing great, but I think he'll get Rookie of the Year. I don't know about MVP.
I thought it was so far. That's why I thought the question was. I don't think he's going to win MVP either.
I said early season MVP. I guess it can be interpreted different ways, but we will see. What is going on over there? Okay, all right, back to the show. Breanna Stewart, Asia Wilson, Sabrina Ionescu, and Kelsey Plum. The New York Liberty and Las Vegas Aces are battling it out right now in a very exciting series for a spot in the 2024 WNBA Finals. While the Liberty have the upper hand, hence why they have the number 1 seed and are up 2-0 right now, the Aces have their favorite to win the MVP in Asia Wilson. As the series stands right now, who do you have ultimately advancing? As the series stands right now, and tell me how many games.
You know what I'm going to say? You already said it kind of yourself, but they have the MVP in Asia Wilson. I'm going to have the Aces coming back to win this series in 5. By the way, I kind of hate how they're still doing 5-game series in the WNBA. It's time to make 7-game series. They can handle it. Come on. Absolutely. But I think Asia Wilson can lead this team back to victory. Kelsey Plum, if you saw, was getting berated by her coach a few nights ago, of course, by the disappointing loss in New York. But I think this team can handle it coming back to Las Vegas and have a big victory against Sabrina Ionescu and the New York Liberty. This team is still a championship team. They have not lost any flair, I think, but when you're down 2-0, that'll light up, a spark in you sometimes. So who knows? Maybe that was the last game they needed to finally wake up. So I say them in 5.
So you have the Liberty kind of blowing it all. That's great. That's a great answer. But hey, if you're going to – I feel like you don't see that happen a lot within the NBA, but you see some of those crazy comebacks a lot in baseball and even like the WNBA in other sports. So I feel like if it's going to happen, it could happen in this league. Ryan?
So get the brooms out, folks. I hope we have a broom in the back. This will be a 3-game sweep. I grant it should be a 4-game sweep. It should be a 7-game series. I don't know why we're not playing 7-game series in the W. This is going to be a sweep. Look, the only veteran superstar in this series is Breanna Stewart, who dropped 34 points in Game 1. She has been there. She has done that. She has won championships. A'ja Wilson is a tremendous basketball player, and she's going to win MVP. They won last year. I get that. But the thing is, like Mike Tyson always said, what's your plan when you get punched in the face? The defending champs went to New York and lost 2 games. Now they got to come back to Mandalay Bay, where they play at in Vegas, and defend their home floor. And I don't think they're going to do that, because I think Breanna Stewart is going to go off again for 30-plus points. And, look, they have the Aces have Plum and A'ja Wilson. Past that, the team's pretty thin. The Liberty are a deeper team. Get the brooms out. The Liberty are going to the finals.
Which team is, you said, talk about their depth on the Aces. Which team is Nika Mule playing on? I know she does not get a lot of minutes, but she's
not in this.
She's not in this series.
No.
Okay, that's what I thought. Grabiel, finish it off.
I also think that the Liberty are going to finish this series in about 3 to 4 games. Sabrina Ionescu and Breanna Stewart have been on fire in both of the Liberty's wins earlier in the series. And, you know, they are the back-to-back defending champs, the Aces, right? It's the Aces. Mm-hmm. They are the back-to-back defending champs, so you never know what kind of grit and heart they could pull out to try and come back in the series. But I just think they're too far, you know, gone in the series. I believe that Ionescu and Stewart are going to find that mama mentality and finish this series within the next 2 games and try not to let it go back to New York.
So wait, you said 3 to 4 games. Do you have a sweep, or do you have the Aces winning a game, or 2 games, or winning it all?
I have the Liberty winning the series.
All right. All right. Great answers all around. I do think that the Liberty are going to win this series. I don't think that the Aces can come back. I do think the Liberty are going to do it in 4. But Ryan Hopper, you gave me, even though I was looking at it for 4 games, you gave me the sweet Grabiel. I was trying to get you to specify down on your answer right there. You'll get the 2 on that one. Joe, you're going to get the 1 on this one. Great answers all around, though. All in all, some great stuff. But adding up these scores, we will do that during the break. But sit tight, because we have rapid fire coming up next. So it's about to get, you know, really hot in here. Stay with us. You won't want to miss it. Welcome back into College Crossfire. We have a very close game right now. I don't think it gets much closer than this, because every single one of y'all is tied at 12.
Ooh. The script is crazy.
Whoa. All right. But tonight's win is still up for grabs by anyone, because we have the rapid fire round coming up. Double the points, double the pressure. It's about to turn up the. It's going to be time to turn up the heat. I butchered that one badly. I butchered that one really badly. But anyways, who's going to take it? Who's going to take this one tonight? It's all tied at 12.
Who knows, man? I'm so
Let's get into our first question. Last Friday night, Cam Ward and the Miami Hurricanes beat the Virginia Tech Hokies in a game that came down to the very last play. Down by 4, Hokies quarterback Tyron Drones hurled a 30-yard pass to the end zone for a jump ball between his receivers and Miami defenders. A Virginia Tech receiver appeared to have caught the ball, and the play was initially ruled a touchdown. However, after further review, the refs actually overturned it and called it incomplete. This ultimately confused a lot of college football fans, especially those who are passionate about, who wins and who gets the higher spot in the rankings. So with that being said, what is the biggest play in sports history that you believe should have been called the other way and changed the outcome of a game?
Need I say more? And need I say more? Need I say more at all? I mean, come on. He caught the ball, guys. Come on. This could have really just changed the course of Cowboys history as it stands. A team that has not gone to the conference championship game at that point in 20-something years. I mean, he caught the ball, and all of a sudden what makes matters worse is that 5 years later, they say they got the call wrong. Not after the game. Not the year after. 5 years later, they say that he did catch the ball after all. And who knows? I know Aaron Rodgers was a great player at the time. He was the MVP of that season, I believe. He could have gone down for a game-winning drive, but at least put it in the hands of the defense before you make that kind of call on 4th and 4. Tony Romo throwing a prayer downfield, makes a miraculous catch, secures the ball after 3 steps, and then they say that it was dropped. So I think that just turned the history of the Cowboys history and NFL history just in general. I just hate that right there.
I'm not disputing that call whatsoever. I think that it was a catch, but I'm asking you, they overturned it because the ball never hits the ground, but it moves within his grasp.
Yeah, they said he didn't secure it all the way to the ground. That was their reasoning. And at the time, that was, what was the rules for a catch. They've kind of adjusted now to where the 2 feet are like the main priority. But at the time, I thought he took 3 steps. And as he's heading down, they say he didn't secure it as he put his forearm and elbow on the ground and it popped out. And so it is what it is. I moved on, but it sucks.
I think the biggest missed call in sports history is obviously the missed defensive pass interference between the Rams and the Saints. It was 2018, right? That was the biggest one. Right before the end of the game, clear defensive pass interference. The guy doesn't even turn his head around. He just lays out the Saints receiver. That's an automatic first down. Saints are in field goal range easily. They have all the time in the world to just run it out. We get, they line up for the game-winning kick. Then we get the greatest Super Bowl matchup that could have possibly happened between Breeze and Brady, and we missed out on that because the refs did not throw a flag in that NFC Conference Championship game. I believe that's one of the worst missed calls. I mean, I wasn't a Saints fan, but even I was like, they have to overturn that somehow, right? It was pretty egregious, even as an unbiased sports fan. So I think that was one of the worst calls I've ever seen.
So I would say both of those came to mind. I was about to say the Saints call, but I'm happy that I thought of something else because this is not just U.S. sports history. This is sports history. Let me take you back to the 1986 World Cup. The hand of God goal that should have never stood. Diego Maradona, one of the best players of all time. Fantastic player. He scored a wonderful goal in that game. That solo run, perfectly legal. But the second goal, the game-winning goal, you could never watch soccer in your life. You cannot use your hand if you're not the goalie. He goes up. They're playing England in the quarterfinal. He goes up and blatantly punches the ball with his hand because the goalie's coming out to beat him to it, punches the ball, it goes into the net. It is ruled a goal because there was no replay at the time. Absolutely egregious. To this day, it is still known around the world as the hand of God goal because Maradona said, I might not have touched it with my hand. I think it was the hand of God, basically admitting he touched it with his hand. Even in the 1986 grainy-ass broadcast, you can see it. That's the one thing you cannot do as a position player in soccer, punch it with your hand in the biggest tournament that only comes every 4 years. Argentina versus England, this is as big as it gets, and he punched the ball with his hand. Is one of the infamous moments in sports history, and it was an egregious miss by the referees. And they lost the game by that one goal.
It's in the name of the game, football. Like in other countries, I mean, it's called soccer here, but like it's pretty self-explanatory. Don't touch the ball with your hands. Self-explanatory.
And it wasn't accidental. It was a purposeful punch.
Hate to see that. This Sunday, this Sunday, the NFL will host its first game of the season in London, something they do every year. The following 2 weeks will also feature a London game, while a game will be played in Munich, Germany, in November. Not to mention the Packers and the Eagles have already played a game in Brazil earlier this year, and then there will be a game in Madrid, Spain next year. Which destination does the NFL need to expand to next on their international schedule?
It should be a given, but I'm going to go with Australia here. I mean, they already have their own type of football here, which is kind of similar to rugby, but I'm not sure why they haven't gone to Australia. You think that, they have some NFL fans there. I do know that. And Madrid, Spain, I'm not so sure about that destination. I'm not sure why they're going there. I was already questioning Brazil as it is, but it looked like they had a really good turnout there as well. But Australia seems like, it's already a given there. Of course, it could be a very fun trip for the players, too, to see all the wildlife there and a nice climate as well, because you don't see a lot of animals, even stateside, they have in Australia. But I do think that going to Australia, you could really expand the game in the English-speaking world as well. And then also, I know it's a big time zone difference, but there are some players that are from Australia in college football and also in the NFL. So having their families watch their sons play possibly in that actual stadium would be great for the game. I think the NFL should go to Australia.
Football came from rugby, right? Rugby's huge down there.
Yeah, pretty much. Rugby and Australian football. That's the main sports they got there. And basketball.
So this is a singular game, right? Not an expansion team.
Just a singular game.
Okay.
Where should they go next?
I know this has already happened, and it was in your question, and I'm biased because I was in Germany for 2 months on a study abroad this summer. The Germans, this shocked me, love American football. I was on a run one day, stumbled upon an American football practice on a soccer field. Dudes were in full pads. This was a club team. I was told, they're like, we're in the 4th tier of our American Football League. We're trying to work up to the 3rd tier. We're 4-0 right now. And I'm like helping them out because their receivers couldn't catch. And I was like telling them, helping the coaches out with routes and stuff. It was incredible. Okay, it's like soccer.
Coach Hopper.
No, seriously, it's football knows no bounds like any sport. It's a universal language, whether you know English, whether you know German. And in Munich, I went to Bayern Munich Stadium. 80,000+ seats. They sold it out for that Munich game. So why not take it to the Mecca? Why not take it to the Olympic Stadium in Berlin, where another American export, Jesse Owens, famously made his run in the 36 Olympics? Let's take it over there. The Germans are intense, but they're also very physically fit. They're natural football players. Some of these dudes were laying out hits. They love it. There's no rugby there. It's Germany.
I love the passion there, like going on, seeing a football team working up from a 4th tier to a 3rd tier in a league. That's not something you really see in U.S. football, but it's pretty cool. Grabiel, finish it off.
To me, this is a pretty difficult question. I would say it would be pretty interesting to see a football game played in Japan. I feel like the Japanese culture would be kind of like, they have integrated with baseball. What if we put football over there? They got to see the great American game, and those people there, whenever they can crowd into a stadium and cheer about something, they really get in there and they cheer about something. I believe that Japanese fans can provide a great market for the NFL. There is a pretty big time zone difference, but it would be pretty nice to see a game being played out there in Asia.
Most definitely, for sure. Expanding over towards that part of the world, it would definitely be cool. It's just not something you see showcased over there, in Japan, 24/7 on your social media. That would be definitely a very cool experience to be a part of, or just even watch on TV. And then the final question of the night. In light of recent NFL events and the fandom we have from our contestants tonight, we have a very spicy question to wrap up tonight's show. The NFC East is never short of making headlines in this league or in this network or studio room, I will have to say. But we may have another one soon, another headline coming soon with the NFC East, with the recent trade request from Raiders receiver Davante Adams. Which NFL team should Adams be traded to? This could be any team you see fit as the best fit, but y'all are Cowboys and Commanders fans, so choose any team, but also feel free to preach to the choir about your own.
Well, unfortunately, Jerry Jones thinks that we're, kind of tight on money, so I don't think he's going to be able to make that trade for Davante Adams, even though we have like a pretty good, decent amount of cap space. I think Davante Adams is going to end up in New York with the Jets. He's going to reunite with his old pal Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's been wanting that for the longest time since he left Green Bay, which is kind of weird. Like, why would you even leave Green Bay in the first place? I think that's where he's going to go. It's going to be his best fit. He's going to be reunited with one of the better quarterbacks, an aging quarterback, one of the better quarterbacks in the league. And, Aaron Rodgers does need that help. He could need Davante Adams to boost them over the edge. So I think that Davante Adams will end up being a Jet, but who knows?
I think the best destination should be the New Orleans Saints. How about that? I mean, we've already leveled it down to, I think, the Jets and Saints already. That's what he already said himself. That's what the reports have said. But going back to Derek Carr, back in New Orleans, his college quarterback. Also having Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave. I know it was the Saints Super Bowl a few weeks ago going against the Cowboys, and they've kind of, fallen off a little bit. But this could give them that spark again to work their way back up and have another number one receiver in Davante Adams. And imagine how difficult it would be to cover him and Olave and Rashid Shaheed. And then also have a solid run game with Alvin Kamara and a solid defense in the Saints, who I believe has gotten better from last year, but they can get even better because it just motivates their defense to play better when you have a better offense coming in. So I think that Davante going to the New Orleans Saints would be his best destination over the Jets because Aaron Rodgers is a little bit old. He doesn't have much time left.
I think those are great answers, and you guys are expecting me to say the Commanders. I'm actually not, because Davante Adams in the preseason said, I don't want to go to D.C. They have some of the worst fans in the league. So you know what? We don't want you either, Davante. And also, he's older. He's a big salary cap hit. He doesn't really fit our timeline. We'd have to give up draft picks for him. The new GM does not want to give up draft picks. So, you know who will give up draft picks because they're in win-now mode? And you know who just lost a number one receiver and needs one? Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Oh, my goodness. This would be insane. Look what he's doing right now, putting up numbers without a true wide receiver one. He's got Kincaid. He's got Keon Coleman. He's got Shakir. He needs an elite X-boundary receiver, and Davante Adams is still one of the best in the NFL, and they're in win-now mode. They will spare no expense. That's the ticket. Go to Buffalo, Davante.
Y'all made that one extremely hard for me, but as you know, there can only be one winner. So with that being said, drum roll, please. We have our first returning champion, Joseph Duffey.
Wow. I was not expecting that. Oh, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Come on. Come on. Come on.
Do we have time for FaceTime? Looks like we do.
All right. Just glad to get another win under my belt. Glad to return to the show. I don't know if I'll try to return this streak. We'll see. I'll keep it up in the air, but I'm just glad to be back. Thanks to our amazing host and Robert and these amazing contestants and Grabiel and Ryan. Y'all were awesome as always.
Thank you very much as we total up those final second and third place scores for future reference for the Contest of Champions. I want to see y'all back for that. But with that being said, that's going to wrap it up tonight. So great answers all around by our contestants tonight, and even some greater passion and energy that was brought forth. With that being said, that's going to wrap it up for tonight's show. So be sure to tune in to the 1-0 Sports Show on Friday morning, College Press Box on Mondays. Special thanks to everyone who helped out on tonight's show, including our in-studio personnel, you all, the contestants, and our executive director, Tyler Moss. That's going to wrap things up on the College Crossfire